She's a great partner, a great teammate, supporter, and a great aunt. Welcome, please help me welcome Deanna Slamans to the stage.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nathan. Nathan, just a little secret, AJ and Corey should be happy that I'm not making fun of them today. You know, I have my little sentimental mom moments, but Nathan is so well-spoken. He's the voice of Amazing Freedom. He hosts our podcast, but before that, he couldn't even pronounce my name. He used to call me Aunt Deanna. So I'm actually proud that he said Aunt Deanna a couple times. This was when he was little. He's figured out how to say my name, but thanks so much, Nathan, for that introduction. Yes, as was previously mentioned, I am Deanna Slamans, Andy's wife, and I find myself introducing myself to people, especially in the Amazon community, as Andy's wife, because we really don't look like we belong together. And I wonder why people think that. Seriously, on one of our most recent trips to China, we spent 21 days in China, and as typically when you go to an airport, you get all your luggage together, and you're waiting in line, and we're standing there, and I'm making sure my kids are where they're supposed to be, and they have all their things. And by the way, Perry and Kim, I don't know where you are, but how you can travel with your children, I am sure I'd leave one of my kids in an Uber or somewhere. You got 13 kids to keep track of. I was a basket case with just my 2 and all of our things. So we're standing in line, and as they call us up to check our luggage, we all come up with our things. And as typically what happens is, in the grocery store, the movie theater, anywhere you have to put your things on a belt together, people look at us. Are you all together? And one of these days, I'm gonna say, you know what, we aren't. As a matter of fact, I just get so tempted. I just thought, this guy was so cute. Maybe he would just put me on his reservation with him. And as a matter of fact, he thinks I'm cute too, because he doesn't mind that I'm picking lint off of his shirt or staring at his ticket. He even let me hold his luggage in the bathroom. You're not supposed to do that, but he let me do it. No, we are together. We've been married 23 years, and of the 23 years, 17 of them we've worked together. So we're together, and I'm so glad we are. So today, I'd like to share with you all the ways that Andy and I have prioritized our business and our life around 3 key traits we've learned from none other than the chocolate candy man himself, Milton Hershey. And I want to approach each one of these things from the perspective of a +1. So if you are a +1 in this room today, and maybe you're not quite sure what a +1 is, it's somebody who's really along the sidelines, somebody who's a partner in the business, somebody who's a spouse of somebody who's done this crazy thing called Amazon or e-commerce. So you're not really the account holder, you're not the business owner, you're kind of just like, would you stop pulling that noisy tape? Just get the quiet tape, okay? And thankfully, Andy invested in the quiet tape a couple years ago, so I don't hear the when I'm napping. Thank you. Do yourself a favor and invest in the quiet tape. So if you are a +1 in this room, I want you to stand up right now so I know who you are. All right, let's give our +1s a hand. +1s are important. We're the ones willing to dig in when our elbows and knees on this journey called e-commerce. And as a +1, we need to be bold in owning our role, right? Of being just super critical and sustaining this business. So this message is for you, but I have to tell you, those of you on the front lines, this isn't your excuse to fall asleep. So you need to key in as well. Because during this presentation, as we look at these powerful traits by Milton Hershey, think about those in your +1. They probably possess those traits. Think about how you can encourage that +1. And so I just want to help you to make sure that you can focus on that. So let's get started. So for those of you who aren't really sure who Milton Hershey is, hopefully by now you do. We're the ones who brought all the chocolate to the event, and yes, some of it did get melted. So the ones that were melted, my son said, look, Mom, it's not a circle, it's not a round Reese's, it's a square one. Do you mind if I eat it? And of course he ate all the square Reese's, so he filled his belly with the melted Reese's, and you guys got all the nice ones. But if you're not familiar who Milton Hershey is, he's the founder of Hershey Chocolate. He's the entrepreneur. He's the one who branded it. So where in this audience, where are you got to pick your favorite candy, where are my Reese's Peanut Butter Cup people? Well, that's like most of the room. Wow, you know that's become the #1 candy bar in America is the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. Where are my York Peppermint Patty people? Yeah, I know my daughter, right? And I apologize for those of you who didn't get dark chocolate. Somebody posted, please bring dark chocolate, and somehow the wires got crossed and we just bought milk chocolate. I'm sorry. I didn't go and get the candy, Andy did. So those of you who didn't get the dark chocolate, I'm sorry. Where are my Rolo people? I love Rolos. Okay, just a few, all right. And then, where are my keto people? I gotta recognize you because you can't eat any of it. So, be proud, own it, boo, right? So here are a few scrumptious facts about Milton Hershey to wet your whistle before the dinner hour. Milton Hershey grew up in central Pennsylvania to a very stern Mennonite mother and an eccentric father. When Milton was a child, his parents separated, and it resulted in him attending 6 different schools before he was 13 years old. He only had a 4th grade education, so he dropped out by 4th grade. So let's think about this for a minute. Armed with just a 4th grade education, at 13 he started an apprenticeship, he worked at a newspaper, he worked at an ice cream shop before deciding he wanted to work for himself. I just want to work on my own. And by 18 years old, he was making his own confections, selling them on his cart, going door to door around the countryside, cooking them, wrapping them, dragging them all along the countryside to sell to people. He made his first $1 million when he was 26 years old. He sold the Lancaster Caramel Company in Lancaster, PA for $1 million. And the reason he sold it was because he wanted to focus on something completely innovative, and that was chocolate. So do you think that this was just the end of his story? No, it's just the beginning. $1 million at that time in history, you think, hey, I can hang up my hat. He was just getting started. Milton Hershey was so humble, he was so hardworking, and he was honorable. So through these 3 traits, he lived a profoundly impactful life as an entrepreneur. I'm so excited to talk about what his life means for you, and especially what it means for me. So as a partner in this e-commerce space, these traits have not only saved Andy and I in our business and our relationship over the past 5 years, these concepts drive our business every single day of our life. So the first trait I want to think about for you is the value of being humble. So one of my favorite quotes that Milton says is, I failed. It was a bad beginning. I suppose I never would have done anything if I hadn't kept coming back. That is such a famous quote, and I absolutely love it. So this character trait of being humble means failure is an option for us. You show me a man or a woman who has failed, and I'll tell you, they have learned some humility in their life, right? No, of course, we don't have to fail, right? We can choose to be comfortable. We can choose to not take risks. We can choose to say, okay, you know what, I just lost that couple $1,000, you know what, I'm done. Maybe this isn't for me, I don't know. But I love that he kept coming back because we have so much chocolate to show for it, right? It's so good. So before I share a personal story with you, I want you all to think back right now, take 10 seconds and think about your latest failure in your business. It doesn't have to be big, but just this mistake. Like, ooh, I did not see this coming. You know, I had an opportunity to talk to Denise earlier today, and she was pretty discouraged, and I just thought of her as I was thinking about this talk, how much she needs maybe some encouragement. But thinking about our mistakes just makes us feel a little uncomfortable inside. But I want you to think about this, okay? So I'm going to share this story with you. Some of you have heard this story before. all right? I remember a time early on in our private label journey, I think it was about 4 years ago, right, Andy? When Andy set up a free promo code. And back then, Amazon let you do that. Some of you are snickering, you're like, we've heard this story, oh my gosh, it's horrible. So you've heard it. He was super excited about setting up this code. So in setting up the code, he unchecked a box that he was supposed to check, or I think he checked something he wasn't supposed to check. I don't know what he was supposed to do. It was just crazy confusing. Either way, whatever he did resulted in his promo code showing up right on the listing page for all the sellers to see. So unbeknownst to him, what that meant was as the customers purchased the item, they were all getting it for free. And that's not what he wanted to happen. So he set up this code the night before, right before bed, maybe around midnight. And so we have this thing where we say, you know, we never really want to go to bed angry. You never really want to get into a deep discussion at midnight. Well, you never want to set up a promo code at midnight, especially if it's your first promo code. You don't want to set it up at midnight. So, you know, we went to bed, and, you know, it was around 4 a.m. I heard him getting up, and he's on his phone, and he just, I don't remember what came out of his mouth. And he runs downstairs, and no, and I'm like, what is going on? And he actually discovered all 1,000 units, $12,000, wiped out overnight. Not even within 24 hours, overnight. So you've heard how some people become an overnight success? Yeah. We lost $12,000. That's a lot of money, right? And it certainly was when we were first starting out. So overnight, our product on that just failed. And I had never seen him so downcast before. I've never seen him just so anxious and just distraught. He was my hero. I didn't really know how to encourage him, but I did have a choice to make. One of two things. I could have said, you know what? This Amazon business is stupid anyway. Do you even know what you're doing? You know, as a plus one, we're like, what is this? You're throwing all this money out here? Who sells on Amazon? That sounds like some kind of kooky thing. Or I could have chosen to just come alongside him and say, come on, we got to get back up. We got to figure this out. I didn't really know what to say, but I know one thing. I didn't accuse him or blame him. That was a lot for him that he was carrying on his shoulders. So this option to fail, really it's the choice to keep coming back, right? So we kept coming back, kept launching products. This is so familiar with Milton Hershey School. He failed 3 times before his famous Lancaster Caramel Company. And with each of those failures, the result was complete and utter bankrupt. As I mentioned before, Milton's mother, she was a stern Mennonite woman. She valued diligence and prudence. She had no patience for someone not disciplined enough to save their money. And as a matter of fact, she thought you should be able to stretch your money as far as it should go, right? And yet he's investing his money into all of these other ventures. You know, her name was Fanny, and Milton's father's name was Henry. And Henry was just so eccentric, he squandered all of Milton's wealth. All the little bit of money that they had, he invested it in fads all over the country. Oh, this quick, rich, get quick schemes or whatever, you know, he was the king of those. And just would ruin the little bit that Milton would earn. So, you know, the fact that Milton was losing money on his ventures was driving his mother nuts. You guys familiar with that tension in the family, right? You're gonna invest how much in a business? Our product's gonna sell? What are we doing here? This is our hard-earned money. How are we supposed to be, how to make ends meet? Even still, with his father out of the picture, Milton had no one else to rely on but his mom and his Aunt Mattie. And his Aunt Mattie loaned him $150 to get started. 3 times he failed to turn a profit. 3 times he went bankrupt. 3 times he asked his aunt and mother for money. They're running out of money and patience. And even though they were his staunchest supporters, it wasn't easy to watch him fail, right? Us plus ones, it's not easy to watch you make mistakes. We're like, you know, we don't really know what to do. But we're there on the sideline saying you can do it. It was that spark, though, in Milton's eyes. They stayed up late in New York City in his candy shop, in Philadelphia in his candy shop, cooking and wrapping and prepping so that he could take his cart down the city streets and he could start selling candy in the city. They were some amazing plus ones for him. Our family lives by the word of God, and in it, the Apostle Paul writes to the church in Ephesus about humility. Ephesians 4:2 says, "Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love." Boy, this was certainly the response I was trying to give to Andy when we stared our $12,000 loss in the face. I really did have other choices I could have made. And for those of us outside of the business, there's a lot of angst. We have a lot of choices on how we should respond. And our partners also face choices, how they're going to respond to workers. Nathan just did an amazing talk on how to hire VAs, and boy, the humility that comes from working with other people who just aren't coming up to par. How do you respond with humility and with patience, understanding everybody's learning this process together? So fast forward now, 4 years later, and so many of our amazing freedom failures have grown in all of us. Gary, Andy, Leron, Nathan, Steve Peterson, all of us, humility, patience, understanding, and most of all, love for this process of e-commerce and Amazon. You know, a lot of people talk about the strategies of what it means to scale a business, but not a lot of people talk about those strategies, growth of patience and love. That has to grow as well, right? As the business scales, your patience has to grow too. So as we delve deeper into Milton Hershey's success in his business and life, I hope you're beginning to see why our family admires him as much as we do. So for years, Fanny and Aunt Maddie were Milton's principal guardians and champions. They wrapped candy in his Philadelphia, New York shops day and night for his first successful business of Lancaster Caramel Company. You know, we all can relate to prepping and packing, you know, late at night. So they were there to support him. So after Milton Hershey made his first million, he set his sights on farmland in central Pennsylvania, where cows were plentiful and land was available to build the largest chocolate factory in the world at that time. And it still is today. This is a picture of the original chocolate factory. It has since been torn down, but the Hershey cocoa bushes are still there, and the iconic smokestacks in the far right corner of the screen that greet the trains coming into town. After this factory was torn down, they built an even larger factory about a mile from our house. The amount of milk that factory uses in one day is the same amount of milk that the city of Philadelphia consumes in one day, just to make chocolate. So Milton Hershey started with kisses, but he built his business with people in mind, and that's why I love him so. So as an employer, Milton showed his gratitude to his closest employees by building homes for them. Because, I mean, like, why not, you know? Okay, I'll build you a house. Andy, build me a house one day. You know? He built homes for his gardener, his lawyer, his accountant, and his mom, the ultimate plus one. These homes are mansions by today's standards, so imagine how impressive they looked in 1909. But his most substantial gift to the town was how he approached his fellow man. One of my favorite stories that I love to share took place in the 1930s during the Great Depression. Milton ignited a mini boom in his town. He ordered the construction of the famous Hotel Hershey, home of the chocolate spa. Ladies, if you ever want to visit me in Hershey, I will take you to the spa. A community building with a gym and a swimming pool inside, and a theater. It also housed new offices for the Hershey Company. He built Hershey Park Stadium and the indoor sports arena, and a junior-senior high school built for orphan boys. And all of this building took place during one of the darkest times in US history. To sum up his massive building campaign the best, the story goes like this. One day, a foreman comes up to him and says, "Hey, Milton, I found a machine that will do the work of 40 men. He thought maybe he would entice Milton to save some money. You know what Milton's response was? "Our country's starving. Go out and hire 40 men. I would rather put them to work." Milton understood, even as his wealth was increasing and the size of his business was bursting at the seams, that truly what mattered were people. It was evident in everything he did. For Milton Hershey, it wasn't even about the chocolate. Sure, he made millions selling it, but as he did, he also built a model town with all the amenities so that his employees would enjoy living and working in Hershey. So this next trait that I want to focus on is hardworking. Let me tell you this secret. The difference between a good e-commerce business and a great e-commerce business is how that business relates to people. Sure, you can work hard, but people matter more, right? There isn't a foreseeable end to this e-commerce thing. I don't see it. I see it's just beginning. So what's going to make our business different from the nearly 10,000 Amazon businesses that are going to spring up over the next 5 or 10 years? You know, with everything taking place online, our businesses are at our fingertips, literally, right? Everybody hold up their cell phone. Is your business not on your fingertips? Literally. Data is instant, so we can keep track of sales, returns, shipments, anytime, anywhere, everywhere. But if we're not careful, we might begin to think that that data is what makes our business great. The numbers, the sales, the volume. So because we have this 24/7 access on our fingertips, we really have to make it a point to understand the value of the people that come alongside our businesses, right? Our spouses, our children, our prep and packers. They're all people who, you know, they may not be as exciting as the data that you're looking at every single day, but they'll have a profound impact on the longevity of what you hope to achieve, right? So this is one of the reasons why I love this conference and the groups that have been formed through online selling. E-commerce can be isolating, right? Any other extroverts out there? You're relating to a computer screen all day, right? And you're just wondering, boy, I just want to be able to interact with people. And those of us who are plus ones in the business, we might feel that isolation as well. As you're traveling to conferences and we're home, receiving the packages and making sure the labels are printed and shipping out. No real customers really to speak to face. So online business interactions, you know, where the primary form of communication is through text, it's really not my forte. And for your plus ones, it may not be either. So let's just remember that. So these groups here that are face-to-face, these webinars, right? All the encouragement up on the screen, you know, through the breaks, you can look and see just the shout outs of everybody just patting each other on the back. That's exciting for me. Just all of that face-to-face interaction. It's so meaningful. I think the Amazon Seller Tribe group, it's been said so many times already that this is probably one of the most meaningful groups in the Amazon space right now. And we can feel it. I can sense it. Right? Yeah, give a clap. Absolutely powerful. And even though we're already learning new strategies here, and tomorrow we're going to be learning more strategies, there's nothing that's going to replace this face-to-face. Nothing that's going to replace it. The hugs, the laughs, the mess-ups, the tears, and all of those things that are taking place. So Milton's Help the Other Fellow principle, it's one that has made a huge difference for Andy and I as our business scales. And I quote, "The Help the Other Fellow principle is the only one that will succeed in modern business. And strangely enough, it brings efficiency, you know." Isn't that what this tribe membership's all about? All these leads and tips. It's just amazing. And I love relationships. And Milton Hershey loved them too. This picture here is one of the first boys who enrolled into his home and school. I know only a handful of people who actually met him in real life. They graduated from the school in the 1940s, so there's not too many people like them around. They anticipated his visits to their student homes on Sunday afternoons. He would come in his long limousine, and he'd come up to the student home. There were always kids on his lap. There were always kids in his arms. It's just kind of the person that he was. And Milton Hershey had contemporaries in other industries racing to the top just as quickly as he was. But their stories, they don't have the lasting impact as his does, not even close. And it's because as Milton scaled his business, it's like his heart grew along with it. As I reflect on the time in our marriage where we helped to raise 100 boys at the Milton Hershey School, I can't help but smile at the way things have come full circle. For 15 years, Andy and I, we poured into the lives of young men who were sometimes open to receiving our guidance and sometimes they weren't. And actually, you know what? I want to add Corey and AJ to that because they poured into the lives of them as well. MHS students come from not so good backgrounds. They come to the school poor. As a matter of fact, it's the #1 requirement that Milton Hershey had for enrollment, to be dirt poor. The family structure of most of the kids, it's fragile, to say the least. So perhaps we were one of the first stable relationships these kids have ever seen. This is a picture of our last group of students who graduated their senior year. We helped to raise through 12th grade. This is a charity bike ride that Andy went on with 5 students. They rode 100 miles. Maybe he decided to ride a mile for every kid we helped raise, I don't know. And this is a picture of our last student home family vacation together. We went to Washington, D.C. We visited the Air and Space Museum, and we walked the monument. By that time, the guys knew that we were leaving Milton Hershey School to do other things. And each one of them in the picture had prepped and packed, peeled stickers off of boxes because Andy was moonlighting, doing RA, and got the bug and really wanted to do it full time. But we paid them $10 an hour. After retiring from house parenting and doing our retail and online arbitrage endeavors before private label, Black Friday was becoming a holiday for us. So I know all you guys can relate to how Black Friday becomes a holiday. And I was a little ignorant to kind of like how extensive it was, but I can still remember our first Q4 Thanksgiving. I had taken on a full-time job at this time, working and writing curriculum at Milton Hershey School. They hired me to write pre-K through 12th grade character and leadership development curriculum for the entire school. Over 2,000 students, over a 3-year time span. I wrote 216 lessons for the school. I was just cranking them out. It was just something I was very passionate about doing. And while I was doing that, Andy was pouring all of our excess income into the business. In this particular year, it had snowed on Thanksgiving Eve, so I had a 5-day weekend. So I was pretty excited about that. Decided I would host Thanksgiving dinner, for our family that was local. And so I was looking forward to slowing down, putting my feet up, just having some turkey and just not having to think for a couple days. So as I'm prepping and everything on Thanksgiving morning, I'm putting the turkey in, and I noticed like Andy spent like all of his time downstairs in the basement. I'm like, what's he doing down there? And so I went down there, and all on the floor were spreadsheets. He's got spreadsheets, and he's got names written on top of them, and there's highlighted stuff in different places, and I'm like, what are you doing? And the kids are talking about, shopping that night. I'm like, what? It's Thanksgiving. You can shop tomorrow. Tomorrow's Black Friday. I'm like, we're supposed to be shopping with Dad tonight. And they look at me, uh-oh, somebody didn't tell Mom that we're shopping on Thanksgiving night. So I had way too much on my mind. I go up, I finish, what I'm doing. I'm laying out all the paperware and everything. Family arrives. It's a big smorgasbord of Thanksgiving food and laughter and fun. Some of our graduates had come over. They knew where we lived in town, where we had moved to, so they came over and hey, I'm so surprised to see them. I make plates for them, I pile it high. They eat quick and then they run downstairs. Okay, why is everybody going in the basement? So, I can actually step away from the stove now, and I go downstairs, and it's like a war room had happened. They've got assignments, Andy's giving out papers, and their names are on them, and I'm like, give me that, I want to see that. And in real small print, all these rows, it's Toys R Us and Kohl's and JCPenney and Sears, within an hour's drive of Hershey, and the names are on there, all our students who drive. I'm like, okay. AJ and Corey are getting their shoes on, they got their coats on, and I'm like, wait. What's going on? Well, we're going shopping. It's Thanksgiving. The turkey's barely off of the plate. We haven't even picked the wishbone apart. And they're ready to go. So they're geared up to go, and there's 6 drivers. Andy's one of them. And so they're getting in their cars. And my family, by that time, like the football game is halftime or whatever, everybody's sleeping. They've roused themselves up, and they got their coats on and gone, and like that, the house was empty. I'm like, what's going on? So I snuggle on the couch with our dog and I turn on my holiday marathon movies. Like, okay. 3 hours later, the kids come back, Andy, the guys, and AJ's talking a mile a minute of how he wrestled some woman out of a Nerf gun blaster in the middle of the aisle 14 of Walmart. It was awesome. He just batted his cute little eyes, and the lady's like, all right, kid, I'll let you have it. And all the other guys are coming in, and Corey lived to tell about the 2 inches of space she had between the boxes in her floor to ceiling in the car. She had like 2 inches of breathing room. She was stacked around with all the product. So they come in and the energy is palpable and I get excited. And so they're carrying all this stuff in, 5 cars worth, and my beautiful den looked like a hurricane went through it. And then Andy takes out his wallet. He gives $300 to each of those guys. You know, they're in college, they're broke, they're trying to make ends meet. It was the most exciting and hilarious $300 they ever made, and the fastest. $100 an hour, hey. And that's when I realized what it would take for this business to thrive. And so I made more plates of food for the guys, sent them off with some food, and I just sat down. And I thought, this is it, we're in it for the long haul. It's pretty good. The last trait I want to focus on is honorable. So as I draw this to a close, I want to share one of the most rewarding decisions an entrepreneur can make, and that's the decision to give back. As Andy scaled his business model, Amazing Freedom was born, and it began to take on a different form entirely. Shortly after Andy discovered private label, he began to teach courses online. Some of you guys know that. And Amazing Freedom started to become known for helping the other fellow, right? That's a tenet I wish more entrepreneurs could adopt. With this new business model, Andy began to travel and speak more and more while I continued to work outside the home, supporting our family and business with a salary and health insurance. Remember, he was putting all the money back into the business. So we had expenses we had to take care of. And as the business grew, 3 years had gone by, and I became convicted of 2 significant truths. The first one is this. Up to this point, we had put everything in the business, and I felt we really should start setting some money aside for savings. And we could do that for our personal family. I convinced Andy my salary could take care of our living expenses, we could tie to the church, and we could put some extra away. My goal was to save half of my annual salary. I wasn't making money online, but it didn't mean I couldn't help take the pressure off in other ways, right? We also took Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace course. It was the second time we took it. You know, some people were slow learners, right? So the first time we took it, we cut up all our credit cards and realized that we needed to stop living beyond our means. And then the second time we took it, convinced us we could grow a debt-free business. Truth number 2. I became convicted that after 3 years of working out of the house, I wanted to come home. So I asked Andy if I could come alongside him and help him with the business. Now, I don't know which 2 conversations were the hardest to have. Let's start saving a boatload of money. If you're like us, any kind of talk about money gets a little dicey, right? Or Andy had so much freedom making business decisions on his own, and I'm asking him to come home and be a part of the business. Oh, no. So obviously both conversations ended positively, and for the first 2 years, the last 2 years, I've been assisting with the services portion, as Andy mentioned. You know, helping people, giving them a boost with their product finds, listing needs, and account management needs. And as a mom and a wife, I get to work from home because quite honestly, I was starting to miss Andy and the kids. I was committed, I stayed committed to homeschooling them. I wanted to be there for them in the same way I was with all the other students in the student home. In the audience, in the bleachers, in the ballpark, watching my own kids grow up. So even though selling on Amazon is exciting for our family, I didn't want to lose the close family bond that we had started to create when we were house parents. And perhaps maybe we were, as things were getting a little crazy. So last year, our family reached out to a nonprofit organization called Haiti Partners. The organization is home to an elementary school, a health clinic, a community garden, and a guest house on a rural mountaintop in Bellevue, Haiti. The families of the children who attend the school walk about an hour each way to school. There's no running water in the village. Farmers literally graze their goats and piglets all along the mountainside on the way up to the school. As a mom living in one of the wealthiest communities in America, I wanted my children to see, touch, and experience abject poverty. And every so often, I need that reminder myself. So because of the flexibility of amazing freedom that's afforded us, I felt the best way to form a new and meaningful family identity was to start giving back, start serving globally. We traveled to Haiti, and through that visit began a strong relationship with the founders of Haiti Partners, and we now give monthly to the children and teachers there. One girl named Lisa, she's an amputee, she received a brand new prosthetic leg because of a post on Facebook that went viral that Andy posted. Within a couple hours, $1,000 was raised for this little girl from a community like you all. I was blown away, yes. I was blown away. Thank you. On behalf of Haiti Partners, thank you. And when we went there, we got to see Lisa. And AJ got to teach somebody how to do the floss. This is a video. This little boy is too cute. Can you just, I can't. I don't know AJ, he's got better hip movement than you. After the visit, Haiti Partners asked me to sit on their board of directors. And I'm serving by helping this fledgling school gain the proper credentials to become a legitimate primary school that's recognized by the Ministry of Education in Haiti. Even though corruption runs rampant in Haiti, these children deserve a chance, right? So shortly after we returned home, our daughter Corey, during her senior year, I encouraged her to give English language lessons, and she did so on Google Hangout. She taught English to French-speaking and Creole-speaking children for a semester, and we were able to extend that relationship online. 2 Corinthians 9:6-8 says, "Remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously. Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver." And Micah 3:10 says, "Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will be no room to store it." So why am I sharing all this with you? It's because I firmly believe as we grow our business and if we build the right foundation for it, we can make a lasting impact on our world, and in particular, in the lives of people who may have very little to give back in return. So as Milton's business, whoops, if we can advance the slide, there we go, dance again. So as Milton's business forged ahead, he looked not only to build a town, but ultimately a legacy. This, in my opinion, was the single most significant decision Milton ever made. In 1909, after he and his wife Catherine were married about 10 years, they decided to give $60 million to children in need for starting a school, which would also be their home. And guess what? It was Kitty's idea. She's the ultimate plus one, right? Then in 1918, 3 years after his wife's death, Milton Hershey endowed the school with his entire fortune of chocolate company stock. His entire fortune. He knew that as his health grew, his giving would multiply. And as he watched his school develop and grow for 30 more years until he died in 1945, just imagine that. He lived on for about 27 more years, watching his endowment grow, making sure that every single penny he continued to make would be set aside for the school. What an amazing gift to humanity. This is what he says. "When I started the school, I had no idea what would happen. I thought that if it grew to provide for 100 boys, it would have been a good job. Well, I told you earlier, we helped to raise 100 boys, so wonder what happened there. Today, Hershey's Chocolate runs the largest endowment of its kind in the world for needy children. The school's $13 billion endowment runs off the interest alone. To date, over 18,000 students have enrolled into the school since it began. They come from 38 of the 50 states in our country, as well as from a handful of countries around the globe. And there are over 10,000 graduates. It's the largest and wealthiest school of its kind in the world. Now, I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that as you increase your sales and scale your business, that you should give every bit of it away. But I am going to tell you that the amazing freedom we have to be generous far outshines any other freedom we've obtained through this business. Sure, traveling's nice. The flexibility of working from home is unmatched. But continuing to keep the right balance, especially for our family, to me, is so essential. Milton Hershey grew up without a lot. He was a poor boy once. So that motivated him to offer all he had to others in need. And this same reason is what motivates me. In the midst of business, life, work, and daily interactions. You see, I attended the Milton Hershey School as a young girl. By the time I was 7 years old, my mother had taken her life when she lost her battle with bipolar disorder. And my father had killed someone and was imprisoned due to a schizophrenic episode. And I had no place to call home. This humble, hardworking, and honorable entrepreneur named Milton Hershey left all that he had to me and children like me. Milton Hershey gave me the opportunity to dream of a better life, so I dared to dream. I dreamed that one day I would marry a handsome prince, and that prince would show me the world. I dreamed that as soon as I could, I would build a family that was not broken. I vowed I would raise my children in a home where love and generosity was the focus. And I vowed I would always be there for them, making sure my marriage lasted. I dreamed that once I had enough money, I would give what I could to others. And if I didn't have much money, I would give my time, serving, encouraging, and helping as much as I could. Plus ones, what are your dreams as you help to build a business that's bigger and better? What are some of the opportunities you've received from others, and who do you have to thank for it? So as I close, I want to just share a video from a graduate of the school. It's on his commencement day, and he talks about the opportunities he has to dream. And I actually got to work with this young man when I was writing curriculum. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much.